2016 regular council meeting to order. Would council members please denote your presence by depressing your yes switch?
Mr. Hiley really is here this time.
All members are present.
Thank you. Council meetings are also televised and can be viewed on cable channel 192. Is there a biathlete out there that would like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? All right. Good job. Come on up to the podium. Okay, what's your name, young man?
My name is Mac Elder.
Mac Elder. Okay, we're going to get ready and then you start.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. To administrate this meeting, we pulled some items off of the agenda, which is the mayor's prerogative. The following items have been removed from tonight's agenda for further preparation by staff. Item 8A, the first reading of an ordinance pertaining to arborists licensing. Item 9A, a resolution pertaining to the aquatic center and outdoor pool fees. And item 9B.20, a resolution pertaining to the ice arena fees. These items will be brought forward at a future council meeting. The chair would entertain a motion to approve by minute action the minutes of the April 5th, 2016 regular council meeting as published in the Casper Star Tribune on April 16th, 2016.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Councilman Miller, seconded by Councilman Johnson. Any corrections? Please cast your vote. Scott. And please record the vote.
All members voting aye. Motion passes.
The chair would entertain a motion to approve by minute action the April 19th, 2016 bills and claims as audited by the city manager, V.H. McDonald.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Hopkins, seconded by Councilman Johnson. Any abstentions?
I have an abstention.
Please.
Any matters regarding Casper College and the bills and claims?
Your Honor, I will too abstain anything from Casper College.
Duly noted. Abstentions from Miller and Pacheco. Okay, please cast your vote. And please record the vote.
With the abstentions of Councilman Miller and Pacheco noted, motion passes.
And now, Councilman Johnson would like to recognize some of our local biathlon athletes. Biathletes.
Thank you, Your Honor. First, I just want to say that I think the money that we spent on that biathlon course was money well spent. You know, we're always talking about things for the youth and for the community, and this is one of those things, and it's taken off, and we've gotten some biathletes that have really shined here in the last few months. So first off, I'd like to thank you guys for coming and congratulate you all on your success. Do we have any of the coaches here today? Okay, you want to come up here, sir? Thanks. So I mostly just so I don't mess this up. You know, there's a few people that I'd like to give props to. Jake Pearson, is he here?
He is.
Okay, and he took silver at nationals, correct? Jake, are you here? Stand up, say hi. And that was in Maine, correct? Okay. Then we had Lucille Elder. She took bronze at that event, the national event, correct?
Wow.
And then there was Riley Garner. Is she here? And you took the bronze medal at Junior World Team, correct? Okay. And then Kit Kat Gruner. Is she here? Came in 5th overall at Junior World Trials, correct? Is there anything I missed?
I think that's all of them. Were there any more, Kathy? No, I think that was all of them that were at that.
Okay. So I just wanted to recognize them, and I think that it's important to do that. And I'm really glad to see this program taking off. You got anything else you'd like to say?
You know, we really appreciate that the city was willing to invest in us. And, you know, we put on 3 great race weekends this season and brought some folks in from many of the surrounding states. And they were just really impressed. And we have a lot of regional excitement about the facility that we have up there on the mountain. So as we just can't express how much we appreciate the community's support and all the help that that we've received from the community. And yeah, these kids are the reason that we do it, and it's obvious that there's some interest and some incredible talent out there. So,
What was your name, Coach?
yeah, my name is Ken Mick, M-I-E-C-H.
And can you speak to how it's grown since you guys have started?
Well, you know, when we first started, it was just electronic rifles, and we were still able to put kids on the podium with electronic rifles, that practice, and the fact that we've got a operating range now where they can shoot live ammunition, they can ski in, they can ski out. We're not required to run or do jumping jacks or something in order to get our heart rate up before we go shoot. It's just an exponential growth and benefit for these athletes.
Okay, that's all I have. If anybody else has anything.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Yeah, please.
Actually, like Ken said, my name is Jeff Garner. My daughter's Riley Garner, who's been with the program since the beginning. And we have, like Ken said, we would go to our training, and a lot of these kids' training consisted of going to Stuckenoff and shoot, and to get their heart rates up, they do jumping jacks, and it was fun because the guys had come shooting AR-15s, and 30-06 would come and talk to the kids and ask about their guns, and I think that's why we have the best shooters in the country, was because they can shoot around that. But we are challenged with skiing and shooting, putting it together. So the range has made all the difference in that. Now we can compete on a level playing field and make a big difference there. So a lot of these kids have trained shoot down here, ski up there. And now they can ski and shoot up there. So thank you very much, and we greatly appreciate it.
And I just wanted to say that I know there's a small minority of people out there that are critics of your club and of the government funds going into it. But I just want you guys and all the biathletes to know that you're not hated by the community. You do have people that appreciate and are glad and to see what you guys have done with this program to grow it.
Ken and I spend a lot of time on the range before the races. A lot of the parents do. Ken's one of our coaches, but we had, 30 people at the last one, which isn't a big number, but it is when you consider the way biathlon works. That they traveled a long ways, and all we got was amazing, beautiful, just only compliments. So we don't even feel the other side. So.
Great.
Interesting.
Well, thank you guys for representing Casper.
Right.
Thanks for coming, guys.
medalists in national competition.
Yeah.
That's
stuff.
that's a big deal. Council will now address the main business portion of the meeting. Council carries out business by three types of action: by ordinance, resolution, and minute action. Ordinances require 3 readings and votes, whereas the other items are passed by 1. Ordinances create or modify law, whereas resolutions and minute actions provide for council to carry out business. These various actions have different publication and public hearing requirements. Items may be considered by consent or not consent. Consent items are typically routine and will not be discussed by council, and items not listed as consent will be discussed by council, and there is a process for the public as well as council to remove items or remove a title from consent. Council will now consider establishing the schedule of future public hearings, which are now held for the purpose of obtaining public input. Public hearings are held for items such as annexations, liquor licenses, passing of the budget, zone changes, public hearings, and also require public notice via publication in the newspaper. Please read the consent agenda title.
Establish May 3rd, 2016 as the public hearing date for consideration of community input toward the City of Casper's use of program year 2016-2017 Community Development Block Grant Funds.
Chair would entertain a motion to, by minute action, establish the public hearing date just read.
So moved.
Seconded?
Okay, I heard Kathy move and seconded by Miller. Please cast your vote. Council will now hold previously scheduled public hearings.
Record the vote, Your Honor.
Oh, yeah, let's record that vote.
With all members voting aye, motion passes.
Council will now hold previously scheduled public hearings for the purpose of obtaining public input. Public hearings are held for items such as annexations, liquor licenses, passage of the budget, and zone changes. City Attorney will present applicable exhibits for the issue, and the City Manager will give a report. Members of the audience will then be asked to speak either in favor or against the issue, and then the council will discuss the issue and act upon it if necessary. Next item for the agenda will be consideration of an annexation by a resolution and the third reading of an ordinance. I now declare the public hearing open for the consideration of annexation and zoning of the La Hacienda Addition. City Attorney, do you have any exhibits?
I do, Your Honor. I have 3 exhibits for this item. Exhibit number 1 being correspondence from Liz Becker to V.H. McDonald, dated April 12th, 2016. Exhibit number 2, that document being the affidavit of publication as published in the Casper Star Tribune, dated March 25th, 2016. And exhibit number 3, that being the La Hacienda Addition Annexation Report, that report being dated February of 2016.
Thank you. City Manager McDonald.
Your Honor, this is the final action necessary for the annexation, plat, and zoning of the La Hacienda Addition located at East First Street and East Collins Drive. Previously, the City Council passed on first and second readings the ordinance approving the annexation, plat, and zoning of the addition. Prior to the third reading, which is part of the process tonight, Council by statute must hold a public hearing to consider an annexation report for the area and define by resolution that the annexation complies with Wyoming Statute 15-1-402. For the purpose of the public hearing, the City Council is required to make the following findings. Number 1, annexation of the area is for the protection of health, safety, and welfare of the persons residing in the area because public utilities will be made available. Number 2, the development of the area constitutes a natural, geographic, economic, and social part of the city because the area is adjacent to the city limits. Item 3, the area is a logical and feasible addition of the city. Number 4, the area is contiguous to the city. Number 5, electric services will be provided in the area by Rocky Mountain Power and that the city doesn't provide electric services. Number 6, all the conditions required by Wyoming Statute 15-1-402C have been complied with. And the last finding is the required legal notices were mailed and or published pursuant to law. If the resolution is passed, following that passage and the making of these findings, the ordinance for the annexation, plat, and zoning will be presented for the council's consideration on third reading.
Thank you. At this time, I would ask those individuals who wish to speak in favor of the issues involving the La Hacienda addition, please approach the lectern. All those who wish to speak in favor of the La Hacienda addition. Welcome. Your name, please.
Octavio Cuevas. My address is 2223 Omaha Trail in Barnett. Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. Basically, you know, I wish if you guys would take it in consideration. You know, it would be a great business, not just for us, but also for the city, because it will, you know, bring in additional funds. I don't know what else to say.
And additional great food.
Yeah, I was about to say, all you got to do is brag on the food, and you probably got us. Any questions for Mr. Cuevas?
When do you plan to open?
As soon as we can.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else to speak in favor of La Hacienda addition? Okay. This time I would ask those individuals who wish to speak in opposition to the issues involving the La Hacienda addition to please approach the lectern. Anyone to speak in opposition? Okay. There being no others to speak for or against the issues involving the La Hacienda addition, I now declare public hearing closed. Please read the resolution by title only. Oh. Didn't we?
It should say ordinance, my apologies.
Oh, yeah.
Resolution first? Okay.
Okay.
Resolution finding facts pursuant to Wyoming Statute 15-1402 regarding the annexation of 0.471 acres described as La Hacienda addition to the city of Casper, Natrona County, Wyoming.
The chair would entertain a motion to approve the resolution just read.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Vice Mayor Kathy, seconded by Councilman Pacheco. Discussion. Amendments. Oh, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In my review of this, I noted that this particular property as a whole in the city, and we've discussed this before, but that after we presumably pass this ordinance and annexation, there will remain a hole in the city's property, and what I wanted to know is, could we annex the other property in addition? And the answer really is no. That annexation is the initiative of the property owner. We can't by force or by fiat annex additional property. But I wanted to, through that analysis, thank the owners for coming to the city and helping us patch this hole and get this property in the city. I hope that in the future we can get the rest of the property that's the hole in the city brought in.
And that's an important distinction, that it needs to be the initiative of the property owner to start an annexation process. So we can't just say, for efficiency's sake, we're going to take out that whole gap. We'll just bring it all in. Okay. Thank you for learning that. You did some research. All right. Any more discussion or amendments? All right, let's cast our votes. And please record the vote.
With all members voting aye, motion passes.
Or did I need to motion to get that onto the floor?
It was on the floor by motion.
Okay. Consideration, the next item will be by ordinance?
Nope.
That one's done.
Oh,
One additional item for this law hacienda annexation.
okay. Please read the ordinance by title only. Oh, I see, there was an ordinance and a resolution?
We have to do the resolution first, then we do the third reading of the ordinance.
Okay, all right.
An ordinance approving the annexation, plat, and zoning, creating La Hacienda addition to the city of Casper, and also approving the La Hacienda addition subdivision agreement.
Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion to approve on third reading the ordinance just read.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Vice Mayor Kathy, seconded by Councilman Johnson. Discussion? Amendments? Please cast your vote. And please record the vote.
With all members voting aye, motion passes.
All right. Consideration of the next item will be by ordinance. Please read the ordinance on first reading by title only. Oh, we scratched this item.
Yep. We're on page 12.
Okay. Council will now consider consent resolutions. Read the consent resolutions by title only.
Item 9B1, a resolution authorizing a contract for the Casper Area Metropolitan Planning Organization and DOW for annual traffic counting services. Item 9B2, a resolution authorizing the filing of an application for a grant under sections 5310 and 5339 of the Fixing America's Surface Transportation Act through the Wyoming Department of Transportation. Item 9B3, a resolution regulating the operation of Highland Cemetery and establishing fees, services, and sales policies, rules, and regulations. Item 9B4, a resolution authorizing a general service contract with Rocky Mountain Power for electrical service for the Casper Fire Station Number 6. Item 9B5, a resolution authorizing Form LP3 acceptance certificate for the Wyoming Department of Transportation for construction services related to the Robertson Road project. Item 9B6, a resolution authorizing an agreement with Eaton Sales and Service LLC for the Casper Service Center Fuel Tank Replacements Project. The following 5 resolutions will authorize easements for the East Casper Zone 3 Water System Improvements Project. Item 9B7, a resolution authorizing a right-of-way easement with the Church of the Holy Family. Item 9B8, a resolution authorizing a right-of-way easement with the Faith Assembly of God Church. Item 9B9, a resolution authorizing a right-of-way easement with F. Miles Harton. Item 9B10, a resolution authorizing a right-of-way easement with Gallows Stables Partnership. Item 9B11, a resolution authorizing a right-of-way easement with William S. Hensold and Tia Hansold. Item 9B12, a resolution authorizing a procurement agreement with Hult Construction, Inc. for the Solid Waste Facility 2016 building procurements. Item 9B13, a resolution authorizing a contract for professional services with Golder Associates, Inc. for the closed Balefield post-closure environmental monitoring and reporting. Item 9B14, a resolution authorizing a contract for professional services with Golder Associates, Inc. for environmental monitoring and reporting for the Casper Regional Landfill. Item 9B15, a resolution authorizing a contract for professional services with Golder Associates for bid support, related engineering services, and system startup for the construction of a landfill gas collection and control system. Item 9B16, a resolution authorizing a contract for professional services with Terracon, Inc. for air emissions monitoring and reporting for the Casper Regional Solid Waste Facility and stormwater management services for the Casper Regional Solid Waste Facility and Casper Service Center. Item 9B17, a resolution authorizing submission of an application to the Federal Emergency Management Agency Pre-Disaster Mitigation Grant Program for the River Restoration Project. Item 9B18, a resolution authorizing submission of an application to the Federal Emergency Management Agency Pre-Disaster Mitigation Grant Program for the Channel Improvements Project. Item 9B19, a resolution authorizing submission of an application to the Federal Emergency Management Agency Hazard Mitigation Grant Program for the Channel Improvements Project. Item 9B20 has been removed from the agenda. Item 9B21, a resolution authorizing a lease agreement with the State of Wyoming Department of Administration and Information, Construction Management for property located in the downtown area to be used as a parking lot. Item 9B22, a resolution authorizing a list of legislative issues pertinent to the City of Casper for submittal to the Spring 2016 Wyoming Association of Municipalities Board meeting.
The chair would, go Krista, by the way. The chair would entertain a motion to adopt the consent resolutions just read.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Miller, seconded by Councilman Johnson. Any abstentions or nay votes? Please cast your vote. And please record the vote.
With all members voting aye, motion passes.
The council will now consider minute action items. These are routine business items that do not require a resolution. Please read the consent minute action titles.
Item 10A1, authorizing the purchase of one new industrial desiccant air dryer from Compression Leasing Services, Inc., to be used in the Fleet Maintenance Division of the Support Services Department. Item 10A2, authorizing the purchase of one new industrial air compressor from Compression Leasing and Services, Inc., to be used in the Fleet Maintenance Division of the Support Services Department. Item 10A3, authorizing the purchase of one new skid steer edge paver with options from R&D Hydraulics Manufacturing to be used in the Streets Division of the Public Services Department. Item 10A4, authorizing the purchase of 3 new Ford Fusions from Griner Motor Company to be used in the Casper Police Department. Item 10A5, authorizing the purchase of 6 new heavy-duty pickups from Griner Motor Company to be used in the Public Services Department.
The chair would entertain a motion to approve the consent minute action agenda items just read.
So moved.
Unless you wanted to use the gentleman.
We'll get you in the minutes, honey. We're gonna moved by Councilman Johnson, seconded by Councilman Schlager. Any abstentions or nay votes? Please cast your vote. Please record the vote.
All members voting aye, motion passes.
Now is the time we invite anyone in the audience who wishes to speak to the council to come forward. We ask that you please state your name and address. Welcome, Representative Laux.
Good day. Bunky Laux, 1555 West Kaufman Avenue, Casper, Wyoming. Pleasure to be here, lady and gentlemen. I guess I'm a little confused. I was concerned this morning when I read an article in the paper by Mr. Hunter Woodall concerning your guys' interest in changing ordinances on arborists. You didn't speak about that, and I missed something apparently.
You didn't miss it, but we were discussing it in the pre-meeting, and
In pre-meeting as in not a public meeting? Is it?
well, it is public, but it was just in there, and we were probably going to bring it up again out here. So thank you.
Well, no, I've got a ton of questions. I can talk for a long time about it and go in all directions about it.
Well,
I was
ask your.
concerned when I saw this because, I mean, do you guys really want to get into this?
Cite your relevant concerns.
Well, I just think, I read a law article, and I don't know if Hunter is here with the Tribune, but when I read the verbiage in here, and we're not sure if that's what was really said or not, because it's the Star Tribune, but there's an expectation that unqualified people can come to Casper and offer to cut down trees. Many questions. Is it going to affect commercial properties different from residential? I've cut down a lot of trees. I've got a lot of chainsaws, and I've helped a lot of people cut down trees in their yards over the years because they can't afford it and can't do it, and I've done it for them. So does that mean I can't do it? Getting an arborist certification is not really easy, okay? If you check into how you do it, it is basically where I see you guys going, which concerns me, is just like you guys oversee plumbing. And when a plumber comes to your home, it costs a whole lot of money. There's a reason because they can't get a license without getting a license from a board that's governed by other plumbers that are competitors of them. And so we're going down the same road, it looks like, with this. So the next thing we ought to really attack, which has a liability issues way above this, is lawn care, and snow removal, okay? So I just think it's not a road you guys want to go down. And so then another issue I'll lead into is I have rental properties, which are commercial properties by your verbiage. And, you know, I can't do any type of repair on them because it's called a commercial property. I might endanger the welfare of other people. So on my rental property that I have, can I not cut down a tree now? To be an arborist, certified arborist, you have to take their test, but you can't take their test, I believe, unless you've worked under a certified arborist for 1 or 2 years. I've wanted to take their test for years. I think I could take it without even studying for it because I love trees and I have hundreds of trees on my property, or I did before last winter. But it's not on the agenda. I surely can go on, but I'm just thinking, really, do we want to, are you going to have somebody that goes around and checks everybody cutting a tree down? And I'll be quiet in just a second. But even in your own draft, your ordinance, you have an option of a arborist certificate or successfully complete with a satisfactory score to competency tests administered by the City Parks Division. What little time I had to work on this today, I mean, the city doesn't administer tests anyway. It looks like that you guys utilize the Turner County Ag Department to do that, so your language in your ordinance isn't correct either. So, and then I'll be quiet and listen to you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. First off, we did strike this off the agenda because with the considerable, what do we call it? Deliberation?
Discussion.
The contemplations from Councilman Hiley basically flagged this, and in combination with some overbroad interpretation that people could get from reading the Star Tribune article, it does sound like we're saying if you got a tree, you got to get a certified arborist to cut it. That is not the case. The case is if you're charging somebody for a service, if your business model is to trim trees, then you should be certified. But the reason we took it off the agenda at the behest of Councilman Hiley is it does need to be worked on and considered a little more.
So you can let the public be involved in that then?
I'm pretty sure those discussions will be involved.
I just think it's a sign of overreach, and really, I mean, I understand the liability, and actually, I have a son that does some arborist work now, okay, and he wanted to get a certificate, okay. He's an oil field worker with a degreed guy that is doing several things, trying to make a living right now, and he can't get an arborist license, but he's been trimming trees for over a year, and I taught him how to do it properly, okay. You can read books and figure out how to do it properly, okay.
Right.
But I mean, the liability insurance, I understand that if you're in business, you have to have that. Okay?
Right.
If you have a business and this is what you do for a living, you've got to have those type of things, okay? But what we're doing is, you guys say there's 40,000 dead zombie trees out there, and I believe you might be correct. And free market economy says there's more people that might be coming into the business. But, I mean, really, if you want to look at places of liability and people that get hurt and there's litigation that takes place, then you guys ought to be regulating lawn services first, okay? And I know that sounds wacky, but it's the truth.
Yeah.
And you don't want to go there either, okay?
So
that's my thoughts, and I would really like to be involved in the process, or hope that the public will be able to in the future.
Okay. City Manager McDonald, would you like to give us a quick summary as to where we are with this evaluation and maybe even some detailed explanation of
it? And if you're not prepared for it, I mean,
No,
it'll be another date or whatever. I'll just be back.
He was talking about this just in the other room, so he's got a handle on it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Your Honor, presented originally on the agenda was some amendments to the current license requirements for arborists doing tree trimming and tree felling in the city.
Right.
These are some amendments to guard against an influx of unlicensed folks coming into town to address our tree issue. The ordinance existed that they have to be licensed, and this changed a few things. We want to take a look at some of those items to reconsider them, and I'll bring it back forward.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for your time and your consideration.
Councilman Johnson.
Are we bringing this back to a work session topic then, and then? Okay. Okay.
Right.
It'll be next Thursday then, you're thinking, or be at
It's,
a later date probably, right? So, Mr. Manager? Yeah, it makes more sense.
yeah. And it may not even get a whole discussion in a work session. So are we going to just publish the details in a packet of the changes? The reason I ask that is because Representative Laux would like some public input.
Yeah, just, I mean, if you, whatever your schedule is in the future, just, if somebody notify me, it'd be great. You know.
I think we need to,
Several years.
we just need to clarify, excuse me, Your Honor, we need to clarify that this applies to licensing and not, some of the confusion that we got calls today on was that people felt that just to trim their own trees on their property required a licensed arbor be on property, and that's not the indication. This is the same requirement that the city's had for quite a while in licensing arborists in town.
Right.
Just beefing it up a bit. And it doesn't require, if you go out and trim your own trees, you help your neighbor trim your trees, and not in the business of being an arborist and charging for it, it doesn't change those roles.
Right.
And we just need to clarify those and make sure that's really clear. And apparently from the writing of the ordinance and the calls we're getting today, it's not that clear.
Okay.
Yeah, excuse me,
Yeah.
Your Honor, and all I had to go on was the paper, and so I went down to City Hall, and actually this young lady was very, very helpful. And then I went to the Ag Center because I wanted to see the test, you know, to see at what level it is. But thank you for your time.
And the revised number from 40,000 is down to 8,729 or something like that?
Oh, good. You guys aren't paying somebody to go count trees, are you?
Yeah. It's a considerably smaller problem than.
There's a lot of dead trees in town.
There are.
Down a whole bunch already.
There are, and in some of that quantifying that VH has asked for, you know, there are a lot of dead trees, but not all of them are going to be a danger to the public. You know, some of them they're 20 feet tall and wispy. They're not going to fall down and damage anything, and public residents are more than welcome to go out there and just start snapping twigs and piling them off and putting them in the alley, and they get carried off on the extra collection day.
Islands this year? I mean, talk about a bunch of dead trees.
I think that's YDOT.
Oh,
Yeah.
God, I knew that.
Yeah.
That's the thing I learned on the
That's
council.
you.
That's you.
Poplar, Beverly, see what?
Yeah, so we're turning the question back on you. Are you gonna do anything about those?
I hope not. I'll go out there and do it. You guys are.
Okay, thank you, Representative Laux. Okay. Anybody else to address? Welcome, Mr. Steensland.
Dennis Steensland, 533 South Washington. My concern was the last work session concerning the downtown development. And it's interesting, Mr. Laux got most of his information for his concerns tonight from the paper. And I tie that in with my concerns with last time's treatment of Mr. Goodenough, who also got his information primarily, I believe, from the papers. And he did justify his comments by saying they weren't exactly right. They weren't on the mark, but he kind of got chastised for putting out incorrect information. I think most of that information was pretty much on the mark. And I do agree with his logic in that those purchases were made to develop the Yellowstone District in a lot of our mind, Mr. Cathy. And they all tie in one way or another with developing the old Yellowstone District. Basically, all that money has been spent and all those properties have been bought. It's a done deal. It's a non-issue now. The issue is how each individual perceives why they were bought. Whatever it is, it's a done thing as far as everything goes. How they're developed and where they'll get the money to to develop everything is the next thing. Anybody that was interested in the proceedings of the council, I think you'd have to admit, has concerns on where all the money's coming from for all the new buildings or the new property purchases. They all come off the tax rolls, as I understand it, and they're a long way from being developed. I do support the downtown development effort. I do believe their time frame is way too short. Their money endeavors are a long way from being completed. I didn't see any of the downtown development people here talking with Mr. Gamreth as far as what they were going to do. Goodenough was chastised for not coming to the downtown development meetings. You can only go to so many meetings. You can only develop an interest in so many things. Keith Howley, or Kevin Howley, I'm impressed with his approach. You look at the drawings and everything, it looks very impressive, but the theater project was very impressive. All of them are very impressive. They all cost a lot of money, and there's not a lot of money out there to be had now. I didn't see the downtown development people coming down here to say, we'll come up with another $4 million for you to complete this project. They're $4 million short right now, which isn't an accurate figure, but it will be before they're done, in my opinion. And then I get to Mr. Gamreth's comments, to which he directed directly at Keith Goodenough, which I didn't think was proper. I know one meeting I was at, Mr. Sweeney addressed Mr. McDonald. He was gavelled. I feel like Mayor Sandoval should have gavelled Mr. Gamreth. Now, how you'd ever got into that discussion to gavel him, I don't know. But I do know that I don't think you're going to get people to come down here and talk on issues if they have that kind of, reception. Yeah. Keith's he's obviously got a history with the council. I think that affects some of the things, the way his comments are received, but I do believe there's a large number of people in Casper that are wondering why we're buying all these properties, where we're going with that, and how we're going to accomplish it. It's not council's money, it's the city's money, it's the taxpayers' money. So, okay. Mr. Goodenough's comments to Mr. Howley, nothing's personal. Nothing we say down here is personal with anybody or any organization. It's a concern that we've developed, and that's all our input is for this stuff. So I guess that about covers my concerns. I do think it got out of hand last time, and I think part of it was because of Keith's history with the council. It shouldn't make any difference. He's back here. He's got a concern. I've got a concern. Anybody that comes has a concern. You encourage that. Yeah. But if you don't follow through by stopping attacks on an individual, you'll lose that interest.
I want to address that because it's something I wrestle with during every council meeting. I wrote one of my novels. There's a character who refers to it as Principia de Corazon, the principle of the heart, and that's why I let discussions get a little freewheeling, because I have hope that you can set aside the formalities and critical understandings can be formed even if the parties speaking are a little ramped up. And I allowed Mr. Gamroth to make his point, And I also allowed Keith to make his point, because I genuinely believe that all of those important realizations people arrive at during discussion. There's a click that you can at least understand what where the other person's coming from. So I am generally disinclined to gavel anyone silent. I appreciate the criticism, and that's why I'm addressing it, because I do have hope that people can find their common ground even in a heated discussion. And so that's why I let it go on. As for the city spending money like crazy, I understand that it appears like that, and a lot of it is just timing. To get granular in detail, the purchase of the Plain Furniture property, Plains Furniture. First off, that's the whole, more than half the footprint of that city block for $3 million. And it was just timing that it looked like it had something to do with the Downtown Development Authority, but it had nothing to do with it. We didn't even talk to them about it. They were as surprised as everyone else, because we were dealing with a property owner who just did not want it known, did not want it out there that he was considering this sale of his property. So he approached the city directly, and according to the Hopkins principle of large downtown property footprints, in order for you to do anything in future, it is really optimum to have control of large chunks downtown. I am fairly comfortable in saying that it looks like we're spending money in a downturn, but that may be the last of any big property purchases the city is entertaining for a while.
You know, and I supported that.
Yeah.
I do support that. That's an opportunity that comes up once in a while. The only thing I didn't like about it was paying over market price. I don't know how much negotiations went into that, but I can understand why that was bought
Right.
for future development. And that was just one of about 5 or 6 that was mentioned, and I had read all of them, but I didn't mark them down to where I could bring them in here and talk about them. But anyway, yeah, no, I support that, and I support the downtown development. Was disappointed that the people weren't here, you know, with the exception of 1 or maybe 2, and they didn't speak. So anyway, my other note that I forgot was to thank Mr. Johnson, or Councilman Johnson in Sandoval, for letting that discussion get started. And I do like the new format to where we can stand up here and not get cut off after 3 minutes or 5, whatever the rules state. I think Councilman Powell made it very clear that that was such an opportunity to buy the one. I don't know what your time frame on developing that land is, but you're talking a lot of money to tear that down and do whatever you want with it.
Right.
And it won't be done in time for this downtown development stuff. So anyway, that's what I came here for tonight.
And the DDA is a separate entity, so, you know, people are making associations that don't necessarily have connection.
I know that's your field, but I do believe within the city of Casper, there are a lot of people that feel like when they look at the 3 point so many million for this and the 2.3, the only one I wasn't aware of was the 2.3 1 cent tax money that went into this endeavor. So that's 2.3 million towards an $8 million downtown development. That's a big investment.
It is.
Downtown development people, I don't know where they're going to come up with the more money, but I guess it's all on them.
It is, and I think the role of the city council is to not make things more difficult for them.
Well, I wish them well.
Yeah, I do too.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions or comments to direct to Dennis Steensland? Okay, thank you. Anyone else would you care to approach council? Welcome, Mr. Giles.
Woody Giles, 290 East Magnolia. You know, I've been coming here for about 4 years, and the last, I can't recall, maybe the last year, I mentioned that economic development, and because of the economy recently, and I feel more prodded. And I've talked to most all of you as a group and as individuals, and you kind of know where I'm coming from here. And there's been, I think, 4 times that, you know, to have this guy come up from Philadelphia to just make a presentation of what could be, might be, for a fee of probably less than $4,000 with the plane ticket and one thing and another. And it was supposed to be discussed, and it never has. And what I'd like to do tonight is, you know, and I got an email here from Mr. Patterson, our past city manager, and it says here, as I stated last Tuesday, I like the concept and I think it would promote economic development. And I must point out, it's not a socialism kind of thing. It's not a communism sort of thing. It's a capitalist, free enterprise sort of thing. And this guy's been, this is his, he does it all day, every day. You know, he's an expert. I gave you the websites. I think nobody probably went, and one thing or another. And what I'd like is can we just sort of have a straw vote at yay or nay? You know, can you punch a button or hold up your hand? And, you know, we can work out the details some other time, but.
Your Honor. Yeah. I think we did discuss this, didn't we? And we decided that there was research done and everything, wasn't there? That we called some of these cities that he had.
I haven't followed through on all the research. I've got an email going to the expert that Mr. Giles is referring to, and I've browsed their website, and you want us to sit up here and give a yay or a nay or a thumbs or down or
You
to
want
the whole idea?
$4,000 to have this guy, and whatever he says, it's not binding. You can say, "Oh, I don't want no part of it," but it's at least it's an opportunity to, you know, hear the rest of the story or the other side. Or, I mean, I had to sit down with Liz Becker, and it was very pleasant, and I don't think she found anything wrong with. I had to sit down, or I had a stand-up talk with the CEO of CADA, and that was pleasant. I had no reason to think that I was I left my tinfoil hat at home. But, you know, I'm just, you know, I mean, there's either yes or no kind of thing. And then the details, June, July, somewhere, you know what I mean? We don't, but I just want to know if there's any, you know, any interest at all to stimulate the economy, diversify the economy, and because of the nature of the thing and the domino effect, it tends to increase wages and lower business costs and all kinds of good things, in my opinion.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Councilman Powell.
What I recall is that we, the last time we discussed this, Woody, that we were looking for some testimonials from, and I used the expression, Mr. McDonald's counterparts, other people running cities that have started pilot projects and have had a successful outcome. And I won't vote yes or no until I see that kind of data.
Yeah.
Well, that's what this guy does, is he has the data.
I want to see it first.
Okay, if I give you the names of all the cities, then you'll research it, or are you just going to put it on the back burner and let it sit for another 6 months?
It shouldn't be hard to get testimonials, I would think. So.
Oh, yeah, the guy's currently working in Connecticut and Michigan, and there's 17 cities in Pennsylvania that have adopted in various degrees, Pennsylvania. And it's interesting as you compare the ones that have and the ones that haven't, and it's pretty much in your face that something's working and something's not.
I don't think I'd support it. I've done a little bit of research and done a little bit of number crunching with the numbers that are available from the county. Natrona County is about 5,300 square miles. And I don't remember the actual number for the assessed valuation, but if you want to base everything on land value, the assessed value comes out about a penny a square foot. And so if you take that number, and these are just using gross numbers, it would run every rancher out of business, and my tax bill would go down to about $140 a year. But there wouldn't be anybody that could own any land to run a ranch
Nobody
on.
would ever make the suggestion that
Well, that was the basis of it. You wanted to base it on the land, if I understand
no,
it.
that's not true. I'm not the expert. And if you want to see the hard numbers, and it's primarily downtown cities, you know, the urban areas, not way out in the boonies. That's not what we're talking about here. And the fact of the matter is, there is opposition to this sort of thing, and all you have to do is kind of look at who the opposition is, who's in favor, and you can pretty much kind of come to a conclusion, you know, who benefits, who loses, you know. And so anyway, I just, you know, is there any support at all? Because, you know, then I'll go to Plan B, so, you know, because, you know, I'm an advocate.
I don't know for sure, and I would not recommend pressing council on this issue right now tonight, a thumbs up or thumbs down.
Why not?
Because it might not
That's okay.
go well for you.
Maybe, maybe not.
We have people who would prefer to have more research.
Let's find out.
Your Honor, staff has started some of the research of talking with other municipalities. We did put it on the back burner in order to work on the comprehensive plan, I'll be honest, and with the most recent MOUs. So the idea is to bring forward to you our research so you can hear from other municipalities how well this has worked, and then a staff recommendation. So it is moving forward. We did have a good visit, and I also want to engage CADA. As Woody has said, he's spoken with them also, so I want to get their take also. So it'll be a combined city CADA discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so that's not as far back on the burners as it was.
Well, you know, I'm not getting any younger. So,
right.
And this, to me, is my method of making my little mark on the world. And, you know, I don't want to spend 20 years at this.
Okay.
And even if the guy were to come here tomorrow and make a presentation and all that sort of thing, it's still 5, 6, 8, 10 years for this thing to develop. It's not like, you know, a light switch kind of thing. It's, you know.
Okay.
But if you look at the data, you cannot, you know,
Well, we have Liz Becker coming to the rescue because she is going to present us with some more research on the matter.
Any idea when that might be?
Your Honor, I would anticipate a month. I want to finish up phase 2 of the agency funding for you.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, that's all I had.
Well, I would just like to note that it is a genuine courtesy and service of the city that you get to commandeer our staff.
I just looking out for the city.
I know.
I have nothing to gain here. And if anything, my taxes might go up, just so you know.
Right.
I mean,
Okay, thank you. Would anyone else like to address council? Welcome, Jeremy Brown.
My name is Jeremy Brown, 2711 Zion Lane. I'd come to the council tonight. This last month or so, I've been contacting all kinds of agencies in the state of Wyoming. I mean, from sheriffs to police departments to pretty much everyone that is in law enforcement. And I've pretty much got the majority of them to support my bill. I still don't have my bill complete because I'm still having my representative help me work out some of the terminology and how I'd like it to be presented. Once I do have a finished copy and I'm satisfied with it, I was wondering if I could bring it to the council and have you guys look it over, and if you guys had any concerns, or if you felt that it needed to have anything addressed, if that would be all right, if you guys would take a look at it.
Yeah, you are going to submit this through the LSO, right?
Yep.
Okay.
But I figured, because like
Right.
I said, you guys are the ones with the issues and the legislative terminology, so I figured I'd let you guys look at it after the fact, like I said, because I'm still waiting it back from them. But if there's anything else that you see an issue with, you guys could tell me.
We'll give it a look, but, you know, we're not going to jump into it too early.
I understand that. And like I said, the more I've been contacting all these agencies, just off the top of my head, Teton County, Laramie County, Albany County, Campbell County, Goshen County, sheriff's departments, they all have them. So I mean, like, it is starting to come here to Wyoming, so.
Okay.
I thought I'd just let you know, and like I said, I just wanted to ask the council if you guys would look at it and tell me if you see anything wrong with it, or if you want anything else included.
Say that again?
You have to have a sponsor in the legislature to introduce a bill. Do you have any sponsors lined up?
Yes, I do. Kendall Croker's one of them.
Okay. Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to note for Mr. Brown, I don't know if you had the opportunity to read through the packet that we get prepared for us each week. It was only 300 and some odd pages this time.
It was a little
But
one.
buried way deep down at the end is, but under the consent resolutions was the legislative issues that we're forwarding to WAM, the Wyoming Association of Municipalities, and amongst those issues this city council supported tonight was what you're asking for, which is study of and preparation of regulations related to body cameras. So, I mean, you know, I think you're in a relatively friendly house here, so with that subject. We do want clarity. We want good rules and regulations, and so that we can move forward.
I got you. So you guys would look at it then? Is that what you're telling me?
We've encouraged the Wyoming Association of Municipalities to take that up as one of their legislative issues.
All righty.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Forgot about that.
Anyone else care to address council at this time? Welcome, Mr. Lamont.
Oh, light on the mister. You make me feel old. Just call me Tracy. It ran across what could have been a real epic fail on a building failure that you guys are part investor in at Biathlon venue. And you probably had somewhat of a sneak preview, and you guys have signed up for the Landowners Association site. But I'm going to leave this with you. And if I could be kind, or you guys be kind enough and shoot enough copies to put in everybody's baskets. And I'll come back and go through them the next time I'm here with you. But there are some major construction falls. They didn't compact anything up there. We've talked about that before. But they have these two structures. And it's very apparent the county building inspection department has been told to keep an arm's distance off that, as they were for no conditional use hearing for that facility. They claim that was open space, but you know, ripping all the trees out of open space, I don't think quite fits that. But I haven't got the pictures downloaded for you. I'm going to bring those to you on your guys' property on the 200 acres that you traded with Susie. But you're into this for $647,000 that you have earmarked, and you've already paid, I think, a third of that, if I'm not mistaken. And you turned that over to the county, but they didn't have any representation up there managing that. And I don't know if anybody ever did a background check on the primary promoter of that thing, but I'd encourage you to do so. Yeah, you know, you turn on the TV, you see nothing but promotion of that thing up there. But, you know, I mentioned there's only 25 people. That's a lot of money being spent. And, I'm not bad mouthing. I think it's a good deal. in the long run, but I don't think it'll ever get past much of that. There's too many other people competing for that. But the county had a designate, and he was never on that job site up there. So Rob Rozier was overseeing that project, but Forrest Chadwick signed off for that with the business council. You guys get to looking at these documents, and you need to have your legal counsel really dig into this and see, this is a bad deal. And, you know, I'm not trying to blackball those folks, but you need to freeze that money. What they've done so far is enough for what their needs are. We need to find out if they have Crimson Dawn Park earmarked for their lodge, because they had to reposition that gun range, as near as I can tell, on that property, the 40 acres that Susie gave to the county. And there's no room to build a lodge. So there's a real push in KLJ's engineering RMP to do some pretty serious things at Crimson Dawn, and the county parks manager's dancing like crazy. I've been called a liar over there and misrepresenting myself, and I don't do that. I quantified myself tonight. I was telling you about, I think when I was here the last time, I got hooked into by Dwayne Ramosa, the history professor at college, as the first member of the Wyoming Earlier Years, Early History of the Cowboy State Facebook site. We just hit 6,200 members, and I'm the head facilitator. I research and I dig, and out of 6,200 members, and the stuff I've never been challenged, the stuff I put up there. So I don't put anything out there, and Bob will tell you my family's character. You know, I don't speak unless I got the documentation to back it up. I learned that a long time ago. Steve, I want to tell you one thing too. Woody was up last week, and he spoke really favorable of the event center. And you recognized me, and I felt bad because it went right by, and I know it was an honest mistake. But Woody's intentions are good. I've never met him before until I started coming here, but he dedicates a lot of his time to you guys, and you're very good to him. You listen to what he has to say. But I'm going to give these to Mr. McDonald, and please don't lose those.
Okay.
And I can tell you the governor's going to be awful disappointed. Mark Gordon's a friend of mine that's on the BRC, the Business Council down there, and several of those other people, but they've been duped. Y'all have. And you really need to start digging into this. That's a lot of money, $7 million build out. And, I think they need to prove what they've done here. But they cut corners on this. They led Mickey to believe, and Susie, they were going to put concrete culverts in. And you guys know how much you paid to go underneath the streets out here in Fort Casper and down here on Beverly to build a beautiful trail. And they cut corners here. They near as I can tell, they pulled those out of the specs so it could favor Wayne Coleman Construction. And the original bidders on that project never knew that. So that whole thing is just shaky. And it doesn't brood well with me when professional people like yourself have been misled. And I just think it's time to really start asking some questions about that. The other thing I'd like to quantify is Mickey had not given the Nordic Ski Club nor the Biathlon Club any land prior to his death. None.
Okay.
And Susie was the one that took and followed through with that. That didn't happen until the first part of June. And Mickey didn't have a clue that Harry Brubaker and company were up there just annihilating that property, and that's before Rob cut loose with the bulldozers. So there's a lot of finger pointing going on. And I'm not giving up my quest with the boys next door. I'm just here to brief you guys. And I'm asking you to really watch that 200 acres very, very carefully and watch your other properties up there. We were told during the fire thing that was a private road going up to the firehouse. That's your property. That's our Casper City Park property. And as near as I can tell, the city back in those days, that was all the liability up there. It was tied to some CCA or the CCC projects, and, you know, it was a great thing. But when the County Parks Board was formed, which is defunct now, that's a steering committee. They have no governmental authority at all. They think they do. And if they would reorganize, they could assess us all 1 mill levy. And that money's not going there. They're coming to you guys asking for money, you know, for different projects. So I think you need to look into that. And I really honestly think it's high time. Did you guys give Rotary Park to the county? Or is it still your property?
We did.
It's still yours?
No, we gave it to the
We gave
county.
it to the county, because they were running it.
That's so much for that. But I'd encourage you to take them all back. You know, particularly the investment you're going to have play out at Hogadon before it's over with. But thank you. Appreciate the time.
Okay. Any questions for Tracy Lamont? Okay, thank you. No, thank you. Anyone else care to address council? Okay, well, now is the time that we ask council members to go forward and address any concerns. We'll do the TB round, starting with Councilman Powell.
Oh, okay. Well, in response to some of Mr. Stevens's concerns, I did attend the DDA meeting last Wednesday, and there is a very aggressive fundraising committee that's been sort of, or project that's been underway, but is in the not too distant future will be rolled out with opportunities for members of the general public to contribute to the plan. And you're absolutely correct that there's a very big target for private funding in a very difficult funding fundraising market. So we'll see how they do. But hopefully there will be enough excitement generated that all of us here tonight will step up and make a contribution, because that's how it will happen. So that is the next phase. And I think we'll probably start seeing some action in the plaza area very soon. And I think I did attend Leisure Board meeting last week as well, and the report on the activities at Fort Casper were very encouraging. That facility is just becoming a major hub of research on history of this area and collection of artifacts, and they have probably about 20 times as many artifacts as they can display. So it's just it's a going concern, and encourage everybody to utilize Fort Casper because it's a cool place. So I think that's all I have.
Councilman Hopkins.
Attended a Amoco Joint Powers Board meeting last week, and things are going along reasonably well. The golf course is, of course, hoping for really good weather so people get out and play golf. The course is in good shape. They've got hole number 10 modified. It'll be, I think it's a par 4 now as opposed to a par 5. We just had some issues with the hole, and so that's been modified. But things are going along there pretty well. On Monday, attended an OYD meeting, and just to give some historical perspective to the OYD, I think we started this project probably about 10 years ago now in that ballpark. And in that 10 years, first of all, we've got kind of an overall plan put in place. We have changed the zoning in the OYD area to perpetuate some of the things we wanted to improve in that area. It was a blighted area up until we got this started. Land values were low, property values were low, and nobody wanted to put any money in their property. And in the last, especially within the last 5 years, we have seen some major improvements down there. We've seen Yellowstone rebuilt about halfway out to Poplar, and the rest of that is going to continue this year. There are plans to rebuild Midwest, so we have been putting considerable amounts of money in the infrastructure in OYD. And as a result of that, a number of the people that had businesses in OYD have, in fact, invested their own money. And the idea behind OYD when we started with, this was not going to be a 3-year project. It's going to be a 20-year project, and I guarantee you that the OYD will look a lot different 5 or 10 years from now than it did when it was once known as the Red Light District in Casper.
Nice.
That's it. Thank you.
Councilman Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think the first thing I'll address, well, probably the main thing, was, well, just kind of a pigtail on, I did go to our CADA board meeting last week, and I guess right now some of this kind of comes off of what Mr. Giles was talking about a little bit earlier today in the puzzle of economic development, especially where we stand right now with our economy. It's a pretty complicated thing, and every person probably on that CADA board, you're going to ask them, well, how do you develop your economy and diversify? Every one of them is going to have a different opinion. I guess the point of this is saying that we do have a pretty active alliance group in trying to find ways for us to go do that. I'm trying to think of examples here that's going on, but one of the recent examples is us working on that 33-mile sewer project that we just took action on and that we're further progressing to find these extra economic opportunities and to further diversify our economy, especially in times like this. So, Mr. Giles, I just want to say your thoughts aren't heard your thoughts are not on deaf ears up here, and we're working pretty diligently with our community partnerships and our community groups to try to accomplish some of these tasks. And I sit on that board, and we've actually had concerns about the particular group you have recommended for us to look at. And I don't know where we'll get on that with CADA. Again, like I said, it's a lot of different ways on how we're doing things, but we do actively sit and listen to what people are saying. And it's something it's a concern of ours, and I think we'll continue to be looking into that. The other thing I wanted to mention is that I will be sitting in Councilman Powell's place at the WAM board meeting, presenting on the issues pretty much at the end of the agenda tonight. So that's about it for me. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilman Schlager.
Actually, I'm going to switch it up. I have a couple compliments that I want to pass on. One came from one of our constituents that has a seizure disorder, so she wanted to especially thank, I believe it was Officer Graham. I hope that's right. That's what she typed anyway, so thank you for what those guys do every day. And I did miss part of our meeting last week waiting for an officer, and I think, you know, our officers do a great job, so I just want to thank them for everything that they do and the help that they give us. So I'll leave it with that.
Thank you. Councilman Pacheco.
Just a couple things. Councilman Hiley and Miller and I went to a senior officials workshop put on by FEMA on dealing with disaster and casualties that could happen in a city and on a college campus, and how to deal with that. So I thought it was very well put together, and it was a good workshop for all of us to attend that.
Let's try to shut it off.
Sorry, can't hear you.
I probably needed that.
Sorry.
Do you know where you were so you can backtrack?
I think that's it. It was good. It was a good workshop put on by Texas A&M, I believe, is who came in to do that. And so they did a really nice job of presenting that. It was a 6-hour workshop held at the Casper College, and I would like to thank Casper College and the president, Devine, for also taking care of food and so forth. I have a Casper Housing Authority meeting and a leadership meeting on Thursday, so I'll be doing that. And I just want to say very quickly, I'm not going to spend too much on this, but I think Mr. Stevenson has a point in that we have to be very careful. We may not like where a person's coming from. We may not generally even like what they're saying. But I think what happens in the course of public discourse is if we forget that and we try to shut people off, or if we're sarcastic, or if we're hurtful or harmful with our words, then that will end public discourse. And I think that is the problem that sometimes that we face, especially in the United States. So I've said this before, I certainly hope people still keep coming and talking. We may disagree, but that we certainly can grow with that and come to a middle ground and a common ground to continue moving forward for the betterment of our community. I also am very cautious and very aware. I mentioned this to the mayor earlier today, very cautious, and I hope we're all aware of what language and the things that we put forward on social media. Social media carries a great deal of weight, and we put a lot of political statements on social media. It seems that all Facebook is about anymore is that we put that forward. And so being aware of how we're putting those things out there as a community. And that's all I've got.
Thank you. Councilman Hiley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As Councilman Pacheco noted, several of us attended the senior officials emergency preparedness workshop last Friday. It was an excellent opportunity. The city of Casper had really good representation in the room with Chief Wetzel being there and Chief King and Stu Anderson also. And I just wanted to say that, you know, it was a very interactive workshop, and I was very comforted by the real apparent level of professionalism, knowledge, and skill exhibited by the city employees who attended that workshop. I'm very pleased with that. Also took an opportunity to go to the Climb Wyoming open house, which was a week and a half ago on a Thursday evening. Climb helps mothers reach their real potential, and they have a new facility on David Street on 7th. The facility is really nice, and I'd like to just give them a nod for the good work that they do, and you know, keep encouraging them to continue helping ladies and improve their life.
All right. Thank you. Councilman Johnson.
Nothing for me, Your Honor.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Kathy.
I'll start off. Since you mentioned Climb, Wyoming, they're actually having a CNA graduation ceremony tomorrow night at the OYD. I believe it's the Yellowstone Garage in the 6-ish time frame. So here again, this is another one of their programs helping to bring people back in to self-sufficiency. So I wanted to go ahead, and I thought that would be a good tie-in from that standpoint. Also, there was a Joint Powers Water Board meeting today, going over plans for the future of where the water board needs to go, some potential repairs to one of the outlying water tanks that is a part of the regional water system. It's in the Wardwell district. But that's moving along and making long-range plans for the next 2 to 3 to 5 to even 10 years out. So that's progressing along those lines. Also along the planning process, there were contracts awarded or under negotiations. A contractor was selected to update the 2000 long-range comprehensive plan for the city. That was awarded to Logan Simpson. They are a firm out of Fort Collins, but that will be proceeding. There will be several public meetings coming up, I'm guessing starting in June. So please be aware of the public. Look for those public meeting notices, because we are interested in public input and how the public would like to see the city grow from a land use, a transportation standpoint. That's a big part of where we want to go here. So we are interested in public input. The other thing is, I wish that some of the discourse that is to come along would come along at the appropriate times. Mr. Stinsland mentioned some discussion last Tuesday night. Most of those discussions should have happened back in December when the original MOU was initially developed. And I wish that people that were involved in these processes would realize and go back and look at some of their own knowledge bases. One of the things in particular was the purchase of the building that the state office moved into. That has been city policy for the last 15 years, maybe longer, that when properties become available in and around City Hall here, the city purchases those properties for the future expansion as government needs space. And we had even tried to purchase I want to call it a twin building to that property since I've been on council, which is only 3 years. And that was purchased by another private entity that we weren't able to compete in that process. So to say that some of these properties are being built to put that burden on the downtown plaza is a falsehood. And certain people know that those are falsehoods and were here when those commitments were made. And that concerns me. And I wish that the press would put out as much on the positive side as they do on the negative to try to sell newspapers. That's my soapbox for tonight. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. This comment is for Hunter. I think the value of the free press is immeasurable. We need our fourth estate, and I don't think that you just go for the sensational. I think you do an honest and sincere effort of doing a reporting job. Sorry to qualify your remarks. Okay. I also attended the water board meeting, and last week I read a proclamation at Wyoming Medical Center for the volunteers there, and it was a nice event. And having some experience working at the medical center, I know that a lot of times people who are there are in crisis, or someone they love is in crisis. So those volunteers, they add compassion at a critical moment in people's lives. So it was good to recognize them with proclaiming a Volunteers Day, which was the 13th of April, just so you know. All right. I think that's it. Okay. The next meetings of the City Council will be a work session to be held 4:30 p.m. Tuesday, April 26th, 2016, in the Council's meeting room, and a regular Council meeting to be held at 6 p.m. Tuesday, May 3rd, in the Council chambers. Yeah, it's in the script.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But you're right. Okay. The chair would entertain a motion to adjourn into executive session to discuss litigation, and will only reconvene in order to adjourn this regular session.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Hiley, seconded by Councilman Johnson. Please cast your vote. And please record the vote.
All members voting aye, motion passes.